Good afternoon, YouTube, and welcome to Street Speed 717, where today we have a slightly different type of video plan. It's not going to be like the normal, long vlogs that I do, usually 15 or so minutes. This video might end up being that long, but today we're going to do more of the old-fashioned kind of walk-around style. Nonetheless, I think that you all will find this video very interesting because we are going to cover a big question that I've been getting asked over the last couple of weeks, and that is how much has your Z06 build cost? For those of you who are new to the channel, you may not know this, my Z06 has 702 wheel horsepower, 714 torque, so very far from a stock Z06. So the first modification that I did to my car when I first got it, shortly after I got the car, was a Haltech cold air intake. These are supposed to be the best cold air intakes you can get for these Z06s, supposed to offer the most power. So that is the first modification that I purchased. Followed shortly thereafter by a set of American Racing long tube headers connected to a mid pipe with high flow cats, and that is connected to the stock axle back system, you would say, kind of from like here back is stock. You can see that I very much still have the stock mufflers. Moving back to the engine bay, the next thing that I did was kind of a package deal, so to speak, where I got a ported blower with thermal reduction plates, which you can't really see because they're tucked away in there, ported throttle body and ported snout, along with a 2.31 upper pulley. Obviously, the goal here with those modifications was a couple of different things. Number one was keeping the engine as cool as possible. Number two was to shove as much air into the engine as possible, as quickly as possible, so increasing the volume of the supercharger, decreasing the size of the pulley to spin it faster. The last modification that I did to the car, I ran a flex fuel setup, so you can see my little sensor here. Here's the thing about E85. I see a lot of misinformation on YouTube, and people generally just have a lot of questions about it. The octane rating of E85 is about 105. So like when you go to the gas station, you see pumps depending on, where you are, you see like 87, 89, 91, 93, maybe 95 or whatever. So E85 is a little bit higher than that. People always ask, why don't you just do 100% E85? Why would you worry about this whole thing? When I go to the gas station, I have to mix 93 and E85, and it's kind of inconvenient. The reason for that is because the car's fuel system is stock and E85 burns a lot faster. The fuel system can't keep up with the demand if you were going to run more than 50% E85. In order to run 100% E85, I would have to upgrade the injectors and the fuel pump, which I probably will do at some point. So with kind of the overview of all the parts out of the way, let's talk about how much the build has cost so far. I'm going to start with the Haltech cold air intake, and that was $500. American Racing long tube headers in the mid pipe, $1,600. Ported blower, throttle body, snout, and 2.31 upper pulley was a package deal from Faster Proms, and that was $2,500. And the flex fuel setup was another $500. Now for the labor to get all this stuff put together, which I would definitely recommend, obviously if you know that you're going to modify your car and you know that you're going to be doing a bunch of shit to it, just get all the parts and wait. That way you can save yourself some money. Most of my car was done pretty much all at the same time, except for the intake. That's the first thing I bought, and obviously I did that myself. It's a very simple thing. So all of the labor for my build was about $800. Then of course the last thing that you have to do, at least everyone would probably recommend that you do, is get a custom dyno tune for your car. Mine was done by Jeremy Formato from Faster Proms, and that was about 400 bills. And of course it starts to rain, so we are going to finish the video here in the car. Total cost for my build, and again 702 wheel horsepower, 714 torque, was about $6,300. This is a topic that Andy has recently covered. Now if you don't know who Andy is, he's the guy who did all the modifications on my car. Most of you probably know who he is because he's been on the channel a few times before, but he made a great video on this topic, and I wanted to make it too because I think that it's a message that a lot of people deserve to hear. Also, this is really the first car that I modified. I've loved cars ever since I was a little kid, but I've never built one sort of like this. Not that I built it, obviously, Andy built it. The point is that I never really got into modifying a car, for a lot of power, and especially not a brand new one like this. Obviously, you guys know, if you are a fan of the channel, that my Duramax is pretty heavily modified, but cars and this kind of thing is pretty new to me. When I first got this and I was looking at, maybe getting some more power and trying to get maybe 700-ish horsepower, and I wasn't even thinking wheel horsepower. I was just thinking, maybe 50 to 100 more than stock. And on that note, an important thing to realize here that we're going to be talking a lot about numbers. And when you see a car like this from the factory and it says 650 horsepower, I even have the plaque right here. I'm going to show you the plaque. Right here is the plaque. Now, the key that just flew off was what I was balancing the GoPro on. That 650 horsepower that you see there is crank horsepower, and that's how car manufacturers advertise horsepower, and that is also how the companies that we're going to be talking about, that's how they advertise horsepower as well. If you want to think of it this way, if I were to advertise my car as crank horsepower, it would probably be about 800. What you have to do is take your crank horsepower number, and then you have to subtract about a 10 to 12% driveline loss, and that's how you get a rough estimate of your wheel horsepower. My car, of course, we don't have to estimate because it was tested on a dyno, so we know the exact number. Sorry for getting a little sidetracked there, but I just wanted to clarify. Since we are talking about Corvettes, we're going to start with Callaway. And did anybody notice the change here in the setting? I thought that maybe if I just, park my Duramax here in the same spot that nobody would notice, but I feel like the interior of this is just a little bit different than the Z06. Sadly, not a whole lot different though. We are going to start with the Callaway Corvette package here. Now, they offer one with 630 horsepower. Again, these are all crank numbers, not wheel numbers. They offer one for 630 horsepower for the regular Corvette and the 757 horsepower one for the Z06. That package includes the Callaway Gen 3 supercharger with triple cooled intercooler system, Aero Surround extractor hood ring, Callaway high flow intake system, Callaway underhood build plaque with vehicle identification number, Callaway center console plaque, Callaway rear fender emblems, Callaway rear fascia emblem, Callaway anodized aluminum door sills, Callaway embroidered floor mats, and Callaway key fobs with a Callaway Corvette authenticity documentation page. Now, how much do you suppose all that costs? So basically, mechanically, we're talking about a supercharger and an intercooler and a cold air intake. So that's all we're talking about. The rest is just a bunch of badges and other bullshit. The Callaway Z06 SC757 package is going to cost you $17,995. But it gets even better because remember, we haven't even touched the exhaust yet, which my car has. If you want the exhaust, now this isn't headers, so this isn't gonna really add any more power or anything like that. This is just a catback system from Callaway. That's gonna cost you another $2,890, another $3,000 for a catback system. Now you can get one from Borla or Corsa or Magnaflow, and the most expensive one I've seen from them is like $2,500. This is $500 more expensive than the best aftermarket exhaust out there. So all of that is gonna get you about 670 to 680 wheel horsepower, and it's gonna cost you, if you want the exhaust, which again, we're gonna compare apples to apples, so my car compared to this Callaway package, that's gonna cost you, if you want the exhaust, over $21,000. $21,000, and you're not even at 700 wheel horsepower yet. That fucking blows my mind. Maybe you're thinking, oh, Callaway's just an outlier because they make cars for, old guys who like to collect them and they have their badges and their plaque numbers and all kinds of cool shit. But you'd be wrong because Hennessy is just as bad. For the Hennessy HPE 750 package, which includes basically the same mechanical stuff, so there's really nothing new going on here, that is gonna cost you, which by the way, they don't have their prices listed on the website. You have to call them, but I did call them. The HPE 750 package is gonna cost you $14,900, which is not as bad as Callaway. I'll give them that. It's not as bad. But again, we want to compare what does it actually take to get you to 700 wheel horsepower and up from one of these big brand names. To do that, you're going to have to move up to Hennessy's HPE 800 horsepower package. As a matter of fact, you're probably going to have to go up to the 850 package, and that's going to cost you $24,000. $24,000 because you're doing heads and a cam. In all fairness, that package would probably bring you up to at least 750 wheel horsepower, so it's going to be more than my car. But let's just say, for the hell of it, that I wanted to do a cam in mine, which would definitely bring me up to that number. In fact, probably even more. That would cost me another like $2,500. So the build for my car at that level would still cost way under 10 grand. So just to recap here, to get your car to the 700 wheel horsepower and up number from one of these big name brand companies, you're gonna have to spend between $20,000 and $25,000. And I think that you can all tell by now, considering the fact that I spent roughly $6,300 on my car and I'm above 700 wheel, I think you can all tell that 25 grand is completely and utterly ridiculous. And that's the big point that I wanted to make in this video. This is happening to people every single day. People are getting ripped off every single day. They're getting scammed. And I get comments like this all the time on my YouTube channel. Why don't you get the Hennessy, 750 horsepower package? Why don't you get, this package from whatever company? And it's like, first of all, those numbers aren't even wheel horsepower. My car's making more power than that And those companies charge a ridiculous fee for the same shit that, you know, a great small shop like Andy's can do. All I'm trying to say is this, you know, if you have a car and you want to modify it, even if it's a brand new car, a newer car, whatever, you know, you don't have to spend so much money. I know that some guys just have a shit ton of money and they love the little badge. Some guys like that. Some guys like the Callaway badge or the Hennessy badge. Some guys like to do that whole thing, and that means a lot to them. And that's fine too. You know, I mean, to me, it seems like you're spending a lot of money for a bunch of little badges, but if that's what you want to do with your money, that's great. But for those people who don't want to spend money, and even for people that are rich, I mean, the industry that I work in, I know a lot of people that have some money, believe me, but most of them like to save their money, believe it or not. So even if you are one of those people who has a lot of money, I'm guessing that you don't want to waste it. So therefore, do not take your car to one of these big name shops. That's it for the video. You know, honestly, as I started to get more and more into the car modifying scene, I couldn't believe that people were getting ripped off and scammed for tens of thousands of dollars more than they had to, and I really had no idea that you could get your car to those power levels, you know, pretty easily for just not very much money. With all that being said, the main part of this video is now over, and because it's probably going to end up being a little bit shorter than normal, I decided I would do a little Q&A. Earlier today, I put up a picture on Instagram, and I told people to post their questions below, so we're going to get into those. I got about 500 of them, so we're going to pick out some good ones. If you would like to participate in the next Q&A, you can definitely follow me at StreetSpeed717, and if you don't, you can also tell me to fuck off. That's fine too. Well, audio got really shitty yesterday due to the rain, so we're gonna go ahead and finish the Q&A right now. Starting at number 1, what was your first car? That was a 1989 Silverado. What next big mod would you do to the Duramax? That would be probably the off-roading bumpers. How much pussy do you get with the Stang? I don't have a Mustang, so I really couldn't tell you. Why didn't you go straight to E85 instead of mixing? Well, we covered that in today's video. This comment just says, your guns. Do you plan on camming the Vet? Very possible. What's your favorite old car? Has to be at least 30 years old. You know, I don't really know old cars too well, so I really couldn't tell you. I just don't like them. How much does it cost to own a brand new Z06? Really not a whole lot. It's not, if you put a lot down and you have, not even a lot down, if you put a good amount of money down and you have good credit, it really isn't crazy expensive. You know, my payments aren't ridiculous at all. Fastest you've gone in the Z06, 173. What was your inspiration to buy a Corvette? I've just always liked them, and I think that it's obviously like the best performance value for money out there right now, and it's just a cool looking car. It sounds great, it's just a good car. What made you choose a Duramax over a Cummins? I just like, you know, I've always liked Chevys and everything. It happened to be my first car, so I feel like that's probably why I picked them. They're all good though, honestly, you can't go wrong. Ever considered moving to another state? I would like to move to probably North Carolina. That's probably my choice here, but family is keeping me here for the moment. So it's going to be at least a couple of years until I would be able to do that. Have you ever thought about getting gauges for your truck? No, it doesn't need. I don't want the gauges. What I'm going to do probably is get the little programmer thing I can put in the windshield, but not the A-pillar gauges or anything like that. What would be your dream 5-car garage? Honestly, I would never even really want 5 cars. I just like having the daily driver, truck, and the sports car. That's all I really need. I feel like when you get too many cars, you don't ever drive them. You know, you have too many sitting around. So I just like kind of having 2, maybe 3 at the most. If you didn't have a Duramax, what pickup would you get? I'd probably get a Ford Raptor. Do you plan on going off-roading and making a video about it? Here's the thing, is that everyone thinks they want to see an off-roading video, but it's really not that interesting. It's really quite boring to watch, and I include little segments here and there, and you're going to see one actually coming up very soon in a video. But as far as a full, like, dedicated video to off-roading, that's probably never going to happen. If you could pick a different truck, just talked about that. I'm just wondering, I have problems with this, but what do you use as motivation to make YouTube videos every week? Well, for me, honestly, I've never had a problem with motivation to make videos. Ever since I started making videos, I love doing it, so it's never been a problem. And I've never been a channel that, you know, has to stick to a schedule. I feel like some channels get into this system where they're like, oh, now I gotta make something because I haven't uploaded. Look, sometimes I'll go 4 days without an upload because I only upload content that I genuinely want to show to the world. So for me, it's never been a problem. I just love doing it. Have you ever considered getting an import? Maybe. I'd like a Volkswagen Corrado. I've mentioned that a few times before. If you had to sell your car and get a new one, what would it be and why? I'd probably get a GT350R, maybe a Viper, Huracan, something like that. I don't know. There's a lot of, obviously those are 3 very different cars, so maybe I should think about it. a little bit more if I were to really sell my Z06. Would you consider buying an older truck and putting a lift on that? Definitely, especially like if I don't really don't want to take this like hardcore off-roading because, you know, my God, people want me to like go mudding. And here's the thing about mudding is that it's not any hard. I got news for everyone out there. It's not any harder for me to put my truck in a four-wheel drive and drive through, you know, a foot of mud than it is to put it in four-wheel drive and drive on the fucking street. It's not a challenge for this truck at all. All that does is get your truck full of mud in every little nook and cranny. It causes rust. This is a pristine example of a 2005 truck that I've worked very hard to make it look exactly the way I want and to make it as clean as possible. So I really don't want to do that to it. And again, there's no point. I love the people who like drive around with their vehicle covered in mud because like, oh, everyone knows I go off-roading. Yeah, that's great. And I'm sure it was so hard to drive through that mud puddle. So if I were to get an older truck, then I would definitely take it mudding and do all that silly shit with it because it's not like it's not fun, but it's not fun enough for me to want to do it to this truck, that's for sure. Are you going to be getting Corsa Extreme mufflers for the Z06? Possibly. Interested in knowing if there will be more Z06 posters available. There will be. They're going to be cheaper and they're not going to be signed by me. I didn't want to do too many signed. I wanted to keep that limited. And I will be signing the next group of posters when I do a new design, like with the Duramax. But we will be releasing posters for sale. You can buy them anytime, and they're going to be unlimited availability. They just won't be signed. Is your car a boy or a girl? Well, I don't name my cars because I'm not a douche. What would be the first thing you would do if you hit the lottery? Buy an Aventador? No, I'd buy a house first. I'd buy a big ass house with a pool and all kinds of cool shit. Why a Corvette, not something like a 911 or a Gallardo? Corvette I could either get a brand new Corvette or an old ass Lamborghini Gallardo or like a little bit older 911, and both of those cars are slower than the Corvette, less reliable than the Corvette, more expensive than the Corvette. I don't know how anybody could make that argument. Now, the Gallardo would be probably cooler than a Corvette, but financially speaking, that's just a disaster compared to a brand new Corvette with a warranty. Well, not necessarily. I shouldn't say that because the Gallardo will hold its value and the Corvette will lose it. But as far as a headache standpoint is concerned, I'd much rather have a Corvette. What's your dream truck other than your Duramax? Like I said, the only other truck I could really see myself rocking would be a Raptor. I'd love to get one of those. Camaro ZL1 or a basic C7. As far as a new one goes, I'd get the new ZL1. It's cheap, and it's like a Z06 with back seats. I don't know how you can pass that up, really. Put me in the video for no reason. There you go. What's your dream car and truck? We've definitely covered that. Corvette wrap. How long do you plan on keeping the Dirty Max? Forever. If you could make one last video blog, what would it be? I don't know. Probably just me going around fucking doing all sorts of illegal shit. If you were to sell your truck, how much would you sell it for? We just talked about that. Do you ever miss the Hellcat? No, I think I covered that as well. How does your truck ride with those tires? Very good. Proceed, shall we? Baby, please. Why don't you level your tow mirrors? I kind of like the way they angle up. It looks cool to me. What type of music do you prefer? I like rap music. I love like Mike Stud. That's one of my favorite artists. Kid Ink is great. More of like underground stuff. Not that Mike Stud and Kid Ink are underground, especially not Kid Ink anymore at this point. But I like stuff that's not like on the radio just doesn't play good music. So I like stuff that's a little bit more kind of under the radar than that. Well, there we are. We're down to the bottom of 1,500 comments. I feel like I've answered quite a few. What the hell? It's like 30 minutes here on the camera. That's a long time. So I hope that you all enjoyed this video. I don't know. Maybe you do your homework and you put this video as just kind of background white noise, because I'm telling you right now, I'm not sifting through 34 minutes and editing it. So whatever I said is just, it's going up as it is. So it should be fun. But anyway, I sincerely hope that you all enjoyed this video. If you're stopping in for the first time, please subscribe. Take care. Have a great day.